Hey everybody, this is going to be an interesting review. Stick around. So this video is not going to be all about shitting all over this thing. It's not bad, it's not terrible. I really do like a lot of aspects of the design, but unfortunately mine came with a bad O-ring, which you saw on the front, the cover of this video here. And unfortunately that's kind of a critical part. And unfortunately they didn't see fit to put an extra one in there, at least one extra, you know. I got a couple extra balls, a couple extra springs. I'll show you the extra parts it came with, but no O-ring, so I've been using this for 2 days without it, and unfortunately it just keeps loosening up on me constantly, and I just can't. I start thinking, oh, I like it, you know, and then I realize, well, it's partly loose, and I think, you know, the reason, for one, the O-ring is there so that you don't tighten it down too tight. And the other would be that once it's down to the right level, like I'm tightening it down as far as it'll go right now, and it's too far. It just feels too far. It's just something feels wrong. And once I play with it for a little while, it doesn't take very long at all, the screw comes loose, and all of a sudden it's a little bit further away from this, you know, there's a little less pressure on the springs and everything, and it's like, oh, I get it, I see this, yeah, I like it. So I know this has potential, but without that O-ring in there, it just keeps coming loose, and it's not being held at the right distance, in my opinion. So I've had to order a pack of those separate. I'm waiting on that now, but this already took too long to get here. That's another thing I want to talk about. While I'm thinking about it, here are the parts that came with this, and this is disappointing as well for the price, you would think. This is the key that you need for the inside, and at first I thought, you know, I was having so much trouble getting off this frowny face screw that I started to think that maybe one of the eyeballs was a way to like hold it in place while I unscrewed it, like to put something in one of the eyeballs. And I thought, well, that's too big, and that's too big. And I thought, oh, what's this little bump here? Oh, shit. I hope I didn't lose anything. That's at least one ball. So I'm like wondering, what is this little bump here? Let me get close enough for you to get a good look at it. All right. I thought, oh, well, they must have machined a little post that sticks up like that, so that somehow or other I'm supposed to put that into one of the eyeballs and hold it down and then take it apart. That's how tight this screw was. And of course that's not what it's for, and this is not supposed to be here at all. This is a machining glitch there. A pretty shitty one too, a pretty obvious one that anybody would have seen if they held it in their hand. So that's not important, but very few spare parts. 3 springs. The springs are no different than the springs that came in it. Here again is the broken, this is the broken O-ring. There was no replacement for that. And then you got 3 extra 3mm balls, and then 3 extra, let's see what size these are. 2.88, that's the larger ball. That's what people are calling 3mm, 2.88. The smaller ones are 2.32, so that's an oddball size. But they gave me 3. So, you know, one of the first things I tried to do was, the larger balls are what sit on top of the 3 springs in here and give you the feedback. And one of the first things I tried to do was try out the smaller balls, but I don't think that's supposed to be, because then I barely felt anything at all. It's just not, they were too small, didn't make enough contact with the divots and everything, the detents, I should say. So, small balls, I used one of the 3 extra small balls to fill in the gap. When they send this to you, the small balls run around the outside of this, and there's enough room for one more to be put in there. I think they leave it out so that there's a little bit more of a rattle, thinking that you'll enjoy the haptic sound of that maybe, or the feel of it, I don't know. But I've seen most people put the extra ball in there to take up the space so that it doesn't rattle, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. So I did the same thing. And that leaves me with 2 extra small balls. So, yeah, the other thing about this, and this falls on Metal Toys DZ, when I ordered this, when I thought it came in the mail about 2 weeks ago, and I looked at this and I just cracked it open, and inside of it turned out to be another one of these. You know, I don't need another one of these. And I'm thinking, how did they make that mistake? Well, 2 weeks later, I got the correct item, and the boxes, there's nothing on here. I translated them. Why would Metal Toys DZ send 2 different items in the same exact box? You know, your suppliers are out there mixing things up, and that's what happened to me, and it delayed my order, and here we are. So that was another disappointing thing. Okay, now the last disappointing thing for me is the finish. I was misled about the finish. I feel terrible about it. Again, I'm just giving this thing the shit that I think it deserves. We're going to talk nicely about it here in a few minutes. We'll take it apart, and I'll give you all the details about the weights and measurements and stuff. But one last thing, to be a Danny Downer, is the finish. I ordered stainless steel. I expected this to be raw stainless steel, and it's not. This is some kind of PVD coating or something. In the photos, I won't bother bringing the photos up, but in the photos, it looks, and in this I could see how that could be too, especially when all their photos, you look at a lot of these photos, they're very soft focus, and it leaves out the details. And under the right light, this almost looks like a bead blasted finish or like a satin finish, and that is, honest to God, what I thought I was going to get. So getting something that may as well be polished stainless steel, that's how slippery it is, was a bit of a disappointment. On the other hand, you know, it is shiny, has a polished finish to it, but at least the last 2 days, regardless of the screw problems I'm having, it's not very slippery. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But you know, it's not what I thought it was going to be. I mean, in the pictures, it looks like this. This is a bead blasted finish. Okay, this is a bead blasted finish, slightly used and dirty, and maybe that's a rust color coming in there. Bit of a iron patina thing going on, or rust. But yeah, that's kind of what I thought I was going to get, and I got more of a polished finish. So yeah, I'm not keen on that. You know, the other thing you would maybe possibly expect to see is something like a machine finish, which would be like this. Unpolished, untouched, not brushed or anything. I didn't bring a brushed piece out to show you, but it's kind of a satiny look. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this may as well be polished, and I don't care. The only reason that I have this polished is because it was used and it was at a beautiful low price, and I'm quite happy with it. It's a bit slippery. I can always sandblast it later. Sandblasting this is not such an easy proposition. Be a lot of masking to try and do, and to make sure the important parts don't get damaged. But that's it for the complaining part. Now let's move on to some of the positive aspects. So there's lots of good things about this, and I think it's going to be fine. That O-ring is going to get this spaced out the way it should be, and it just so happens I took a little break there between this segment and the last one. And during the time that I've been using this during the review video, it has loosened up to a point where it's like perfect. And to me, that's how it should be all the time. And I think it will be as soon as that little O-ring's back, because the amount of space, you probably can't perceive it on camera, but the amount of space that thing moves is so minimal. I can only imagine that the little tiny O-ring that they had in there would have been perfect to keep it at just the right distance, that I would get this beautiful, and this is what I hear when I hear other people reviewing it. It works flawlessly and sounds really nice. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting it up to that point. Yeah, let's just pause there for a moment. So some of the things I think that are nice about this are the fact that it's it's like a worry stone. If I didn't say that already, I did just have to start over because I ran out of space on my phone. I talked for a good several minutes there and didn't even realize that the screen went black. So after I cleared out some space, I'm starting over, hopefully not repeating myself. I think they made a lot of good mechanical engineering accomplishments on this one. You know, they needed a thrust bearing of some sort, like you'd find in a haptic normal magnetic coin. And we'll just pop this open, take this one out. So that's you know, that takes up an awful lot of space. Not so much as far as thickness goes, but that takes up a lot of area. And they just said, well, we'll make our own. We don't need that. And I'll show that to you when we crack it open. And that, by them doing that, that gave them extra space for everything else they needed to do. And one of the things that gave them space for, it's impressive considering the thickness. It's not very thick at all. Is the fact that you can change out the texture plate on the inside. It normally sits facing down, and the springs and balls push up against it. But this is the Z plate, and what I have in it now is the ZZ plate. So the ZZ plate has twice as many detents as this. But that is an amazing feature, and not one that I'm going to really change much. I just had a feeling, based on my experience with the top Bs, that I don't care for this as much as I do the ZZ pattern. So, you know, that's impressive, and we'll show that to you when we get on the inside here. I think that this would be fantastic in zirconium, and I can only base that on one thing. This is all I have in zirconium, and the only reason is because it was a buy-sell trade, and it was going for a good price. It would cost the same to get a stainless steel one at the same time, so I jumped on this one. I'm glad I did. But I don't typically buy zirconium. It's just extra expense. And, anyhow, I think that you would probably really like it. I think I would like it much better if it was in blasted zirc and black as well. I've seen that. I've seen other reviewers talk about getting one like that and enjoying it. But I haven't seen any reviewers mention, you know, the O-ring problem. So I may be just, you know, the one in the bunch, but yeah, I like it, and I think it's going to be fine. I said that too many times now, but let's go ahead and do some measurements and weights. If this calipers will hold together for me, we're about 39 millimeters diameter. The thickness in the middle is approximately 13 millimeters. At the edge, the body, you could say, is about 10 millimeters thick. Again, it's not raw stainless steel. It's not bead blasted. It is. It appears to be some kind of PVD coating, maybe. So it's shiny. It's a little slippery, but not bad. These little grooves help you get a grip on it. I haven't had much trouble with that. My hands have been a little moist the last couple of days. It has in the wintertime, and I'll be dry. I live in a dry part of the world, so that could be different. But let's see how much it weighs. About 38 grams. You have to be very careful carrying this around because it could get lost very easily. I didn't get one yet. I don't think I will, probably, but one of the things I've seen people do is buy, if you're familiar with the iPod AirTag. The AirTag is the little disc that is a tracking device that you can use with iPhones, and they make this little protective silicone rubber sheath for it, and it happens to be just the right size to fit inside of one of these. It's really neat. If you think you might want to carry it like that, you should look into it. But I think I'm probably going to stick with this. So let's go ahead and take it apart. And what we'll do, I have some white zirconium oxide balls, ceramic balls. What's in here right now are the ones that came with it. They're stainless steel. Hopefully I'm not repeating myself again, but I did, the only other balls I had to try that were the right diameter, I did have some nylon ones, and I tried those, and they were just a bit way too soft, I would think. So stainless steel seems to be pretty good when we're in the zone. I did try the white zirconium oxide ones earlier, and I was pleased with those two, but I went back to stainless for some reason. So we're going to try those out for a little bit, and I'll show you what this looks like on the inside. So if you want to aid in taking this apart, get yourself some tape. Wouldn't have to be a big piece like this. If you're having trouble, you can lay this across the back. Just make sure it's on there good and sticky, and then put your thumb against it, and start to work. And you can check, if you have transparent tape, you can look at the back and see that it is lifting up and it's not spinning. So now it's really loose. Now it's off altogether. So I'll just leave the tape on there for a minute. So here's the part you push around, and you can sort of see on the inside here the raw machining as opposed to whatever this PVD coating is. If that's what it is, I think that's what it is. But there's 3 little locating posts, and of course the threaded screw hole. And the locating posts are for the back of the texture plate. There's 3 blind holes there, and once it lines up, it locks in place. Pretty clever. So we're not going to actually use this one. We're going to keep the Z plate in. This is the Z plate, and at least I could do is compare the two for you. Make sure we're in focus. So yeah, it's twice as many. And what I want to do is remove those balls. I also want to show you, let's just go ahead and take this tape off and get it out of the way. Put that somewhere out of the way here. So here is, there's a screw and a bearing. And I'll take those apart here for you, get a better look here in just a second. There's a screw and a bearing, and the O-ring would have sat on a little bit of a shelf here on the screw. You'll see the shelf better when I take off this bearing. If I can maybe hold it in just the right way. So you see how the screw is made? The O-ring would sit right here on this shelf. And of course I don't have one. And they didn't give me a replacement. So, we'll put that off to the side, put the bearing back on there so we don't lose it. And I open up I do like the cases that they send these in. That's nice, good padding and everything. I got these stickers. And then, now these are, those are the white balls you see in here are the nylon balls. Those are mine. They did not come with it. But I have 3 extra springs, 3 extra large balls, and it came with 3 extra small balls, if I didn't say that already. What I needed was this. Put that out of the way. Let's go ahead, take these balls off, just so you can see what's going on here. So the 3 springs sit down in there, and they actually are conical. So you want to put the wide end of the spring down in first, so that it gets narrower as it comes up. You could try it the other way, I suppose, but right now I'm not concerned with that. The brass retention ring is what keeps these outer balls from falling out. Now that was just a piece of, oh, that was a spring. I'm an idiot. Of course, if you turn it upside down, the springs are going to fall out. Let's get them all out. And then maybe I can just show you a couple in my hand here. And let's get the focus going. Maybe you'll be able to see that they're a little bit conical. Maybe not. Do not want to lose those. You know what? I don't want to lose these balls either. I'm just going to drop them back in the box here. Okay. So you got this key and the brass retention ring, and that holds these outer balls in. When you get it, it comes with 1 less ball in here. So there's a bit of a gap. And I don't know if I didn't say it already. I'm sorry if I did. I think that that's either so that you can hear them on purpose for a little bit of audible haptic feedback, and so you can feel them too. But everybody I've seen review these just puts the extra ball in there and fills in the hole, and I did the same thing. I don't really want to hear it rattle. But you can use this key to take it apart, and I happen to be number 312. It says top C 312, and you got the little upside down crying smiley face, or frowny face. let's go ahead and take this apart. And you know what? I'll take out one of these middle balls, or not middle balls, but exterior balls. I'll put it back the way it was, but then I'll change the balls. Oh, I lost a few there. Put those back in. Okay, so there's one out. This is how it came to me, and they just rest in there, so I have to carefully put this back on. I really don't want to cross thread something like this, so I'm doing this as slow as possible. I'm feeling for any kind of resistance. It's going nice and smooth. The balls are staying down in there. That's good. I'm almost there. I'm just gonna, oh yeah, back it off and then just snug it up. So now you can hear them a little bit better. We'll see if that affects the performance as well. And then let's get these. Come on, you. Get these white zirconium oxide balls. You have to put the springs back in. Let's do that. 1 spring, 2 spring, 3 spring. I want the wide end of the spring to go down in the hole. Yeah, it would have been nice if they gave me some different kinds of springs. Darn it. You gotta be careful because that one's, I could see that one's sideways right now. Let me see if I can pop that one back out. Oh, you're gonna be a bastard, aren't you? I'm not prepared for this. Okay, Swiss Army knife to the rescue. Get my trusty toothpick out. There, I straightened it out. Simple as that. You know what? I'll use my trusty Swiss Army knife tweezers. Make this job a little bit easier. Hope my forehead isn't blocking any of these shots. So you can test those and make sure they fit. Give them a little bit of a push. I know they do though, I tried them earlier. And to put it back together, all you need to do is put the texture plate back on. Let it rest on top of those 3. You don't have to put all 3 back in. You can do this with either 3, 2, or 1. But so far, I like it with 3. I don't know, we'll see how that goes over time. I was gonna say something else about that. Oh, if you take out the ball, take out the springs. Do not leave the springs in these things when you don't have the balls in them, because what will happen is that spring will come loose while you're spinning it around. Say you only have 1 ball in here, 1 ball and spring, but you've left 2 empty cavities with the springs sitting down in there loose. They eventually work their way up, and then they get caught in these detents, and they get twisted and torn apart. I've ruined at least 2 or 3 screws or springs like that. So do not keep your springs in here if you're not using them. Take the ball out and the spring out. Just put that back on there like that. Don't worry about trying to line up these locating points. Once you get it on there, it'll just, you twist it with your fingers, it'll drop right into place like that. So now nothing's holding it together, so I have to keep it squeezed a little bit. And I'll just go ahead and put the screw and ball bearing assembly back in there. And then I think I'll try to use my finger just to get it started. So I'm holding the back of that smiley face screw still with my pointer fingers and some pressure until I can get this down to that point. Now we need to make sure it's tight enough. Now, had I the O-ring in here, I'm sure that if I just did this manually, like everybody else does, it would be tightened up just fine. You could probably go around all day long and not have any problems. but in my case, I have to tighten it up the whole way and then let it work its way loose. So I'm just going to put the tape back on there. Give it a good push, make sure it's on there nice. And then just see how far it goes. And I can see already by the adhesive on the inside of this tape that it has started to twist. So I've tightened it up as much as it can be tightened right now. See how the adhesive side of the tape has been buggered up? So now we're at full, actually over tightening because the O-ring's not there. So it works, but it's a little bit crunchy. It just doesn't feel right. There's something not right going on there. So as this loosens up, it'll get better and better. I can only imagine how good it could be. Let's just hope my hopes aren't dashed. Well, they won't be dashed, but you know what I mean. Let's hope for the best. We pay enough for these things, we should expect them to be of a decent quality. And I'm sure the rest are. I think I might be the one in the crowd, hopefully. I think that is about all there is to it. The ceramic balls do feel a little bit clickier, but that could be because it's really tight right now. I don't think it'll take, it would take about, well, I don't really want to piss around and get it to just the right, because I couldn't tell you what is just the right looseness. But I'm sure that as this loosens up, it'll probably feel a little bit better than it does now. We'll see. I'll try it like this tomorrow. Can't really hear the beads or the ball bearings on the inside very much, considering that one's missing, and that doesn't seem to affect the rotation or anything. I didn't think it would. But there we go. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. Let's expect more from our suppliers, and hope that they're listening to us. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.